The bullet made a wet, sucking sound as Evelyn pulled it from his shoulder. Her hands didn't shake, not even when his blood pooled black under the flickering fluorescent lights, not even when she heard footsteps outside the abandoned clinic, not even when the man on the table, expensive suit soaked crimson, dark eyes boring into hers, whispered in a voice like gravel and silk, "If I die, so does your brother." She kept cutting. Because 20 minutes earlier Evelyn Williams had been a thief. Now she was something far more dangerous. She was necessary. Rewind 6 hours. Evelyn Williams, 26 years old, final year medical student, running on 36 hours without sleep, stood outside a shuttered community clinic with a crowbar in her trembling hands. Her phone buzzed. It was her brother, Marcus, 12 years old, burning with fever in their one-bedroom apartment across town. "Evie, it hurts to breathe." $47 in her bank account. No insurance. The ER had turned them away twice, not critical enough, they said. She looked at the clinic's rusted lock. Pneumonia didn't wait for paychecks. The crowbar felt heavy and wrong. She'd spent 8 years studying to save lives, not break laws. But the system that was supposed to catch people like her and Marcus had let them fall so many times. She'd stopped counting the bruises. She swung. Glass shattered like her last illusion of choice. The clinic interior smelled like disinfectant and abandonment. Evelyn's phone flashlight cut through darkness, illuminating overturned chairs and scattered files. Someone had stripped this place bare months ago. But medical supplies were usually the last to go, too regulated, too risky to steal. She found the supply closet in the back, locked but cheap. 3 kicks and it splintered open. Antibiotics, amoxicillin, azithromycin. She grabbed bottles with shaking hands, shoving them into her backpack. Enough for Marcus, enough for... "I wouldn't take the Cipro if I were you." Evelyn spun. A man stood in the doorway. No. Leaned. One hand pressed against the frame, the other clutching his shoulder. Blood seeped between his fingers, black in the dim light. He was Korean, she registered distantly. Early 30s. Expensive 3-piece suit ruined by the growing stains spreading across his chest. And his eyes. Dark, sharp, calculating even through obvious pain. "The Cipro expired last year," he continued, voice steady despite the pallor of his skin. "The azithromycin is your best option. Z-Pack, 500 milligrams. Evelyn's hand moved to her phone. "I'm calling 911. "No." The word cracked like a whip. "You're not." He stepped forward. Stumbled. Caught himself on a metal shelf that screeched against the floor. That's when Evelyn saw the gun tucked in his waistband. And the blood dripping from his fingertips. And the way his breathing had gone shallow. Rapid. "You're going into shock," she said automatically, medical training overriding fear. Observant. His smile was cold, bitter. "Medical student? How did you—" "Your backpack, Johns Hopkins keychain, the way you sorted those medications by class, not alphabetically. And you're stealing antibiotics at 3 a.m., which means someone you love is sick and you can't afford to help them legally." He swayed. "I'm very good at reading people, doctor. I'm not a doctor yet. But you will be." He took another step. Collapsed against a gurney left abandoned in the center of the room. "Which is fortunate for both of us." Outside, car doors slammed. Voices, sharp, urgent, speaking rapid Korean. The man's jaw tightened. "They've found me." "Who?" "People I'm currently disappointing." He looked at her, really looked at her, and Evelyn felt stripped bare under that gaze. "I'm going to make you an offer, and you have approximately 30 seconds to decide if you want to save 2 lives tonight or just 1. "I don't understand." "Your brother has bacterial pneumonia. Probably started as a respiratory infection, progressed because he couldn't get treatment. He needs immediate intervention. IV antibiotics, fluids, possibly oxygen support. He paused, blood dripping onto the floor. I can get him that treatment. Private doctors, no insurance required, no questions asked. Tonight. Evelyn's heart hammered. What do you want? Save my life first. He collapsed before she could answer. One moment standing, the next crumpled on the gurney, consciousness flickering like a dying bulb. Evelyn's training kicked in before her fear could catch up. She was moving, hands checking his pulse, thready, rapid, pulling his jacket open, revealing the gunshot wound in his left shoulder. Entry wound. No exit. The bullet was still inside. Damn it! She grabbed supplies from the closet, gloves, gauze, saline. This is insane. You need a hospital, a surgeon, and... His hand locked around her wrist, grip weak but desperate. No hospitals. His accent thickened with pain. They report gunshot wounds. Police. Questions. I don't have time for questions. You don't have time to bleed out either. Then work faster. The front door exploded inward. 3 men burst through, all Asian, all armed, all moving with military precision. They saw their boss on the gurney, saw Evelyn with her hands on his chest, and weapons rose in perfect synchronization. Down! On the ground! No! The man on the gurney's voice cut through the chaos. Stand down! All of you! The guns lowered. Slightly. Young-nim, one of them said urgently. We need to move you. The Koreans from Queens, they're sweeping the area. We have maybe 5 minutes before... I can't be moved. His breathing was ragged now. Not like this. I'll bleed out in the car. Then we call Dr. Chen. Chen is compromised. Someone leaked our location tonight. Someone close. His eyes found Evelyn's. Which is why I'm trusting someone new. Someone who has everything to lose and nothing to gain from my death. One of the men, tall, scar across his jaw, stepped forward. You want us to trust a random thief? I want you to let her work. And if you interrupt her again, Min Jae, I will have very sharp words with you after I'm not actively dying. Min Jae's face darkened, but he stepped back. Evelyn looked at the 3 armed men, at the stranger bleeding on her gurney, at the phone in her pocket where Marcus's last text glowed, Evie, please come home. She took a breath. I need better light. All the overhead fluorescents on. Boil water, as much as you can find. Clean containers. And one of you is going to assist me because I can't extract a bullet and hold a retractor at the same time. She met Min Jae's hostile glare. Unless you'd prefer to watch your boss die on principle. Silence. Then the man on the gurney laughed, a wet, painful sound. I like her. Do what she says. The next 2 hours dissolved into a blur of controlled crisis. Evelyn worked with hands steadier than her racing heart. She debrided the wound, tracking the bullet's path through muscle tissue. It had missed the brachial artery by centimeters. Luck or divine intervention, she couldn't tell which. The bullet was lodged against his scapula, fragmented. I need to extract the pieces, she told him. He was conscious, barely, refusing the pain medication she'd found. This is going to hurt. Everything hurts. Keep going. She did. Min Jae assisted, following her instructions with surprising competence. The other 2 stood guard, one at the door, one at the window, weapons ready. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Police? Ambulance? Rival gang? Evelyn forced the questions away. Right now, there was only tissue and blood and the fragments of metal she had to remove before they caused an infection that would kill him slower than blood loss, but just as certainly. Forceps, she murmured. Min Jae handed them to her. She extracted the first fragment, then the second. The third piece was deeper, embedded in bone. She had to chip away at the scapula, working by feel as much as sight. Your hands are steady, the man on the gurney said. His voice was distant, floating. Do they ever shake? When I'm not saving a criminal's life? Sometimes. Criminal is such an ugly word. What would you prefer? Morally flexible businessman? That wet laugh again. I like that. Write that on my tombstone. You're not dying. No, he agreed softly. I don't think I am. She extracted the final fragment, flushed the wound, checked for arterial damage she might have missed, then began closing layer by layer, muscle to fascia to skin. Her attending surgeon would have critiqued her technique. Too slow, too cautious. But her attending surgeon had never performed emergency surgery in an abandoned clinic with gangsters standing guard and a patient who refused anesthesia. She placed the final suture. Done. The man on the gurney opened his eyes. They were clearer now, focused. You saved my life. I stopped the bleeding. You'll need IV antibiotics, wound care, and probably physical therapy for your shoulder, and a better class of enemies. The enemies I can't help. The rest I'll handle. He sat up slowly, waving off Minjae's attempt to help. A deal is a deal. He pulled out his phone. Dialed. When someone answered, he spoke in rapid Korean, too fast for Evelyn to follow, then hung up and looked at her. What's your address? She shouldn't have told him. But she did. And 30 minutes later, as she sat in her cramped apartment with Marcus's labored breathing filling the silence, there was a knock at the door. 3 people stood in the hallway. 2 men in dark suits. 1 woman in a white coat carrying a medical bag that probably cost more than Evelyn's entire education. Dr. Williams? The woman said. I'm Dr. Sarah Park. I was asked to examine your brother? Evelyn's mouth went dry. I don't have insurance. I can't pay. Already handled. Dr. Park stepped inside with the confidence of someone who'd never been turned away from anything. Let's see what we're working with. The examination was thorough, professional. Marcus, fever-hazed and confused, cooperated in fits and starts. Dr. Park listened to his lungs, checked his oxygen saturation, reviewed his temperature. Bacterial pneumonia advanced, she confirmed. He needs hospitalization. I can't afford. There's a private facility in Manhattan. Discreet, excellent care. He'll be admitted tonight. Full treatment. No cost to you. Dr. Park's expression softened slightly. I don't know what you did for Mr. Jin, but he doesn't make requests lightly. Your brother will receive the best care available. Mr. Jin. So now she had a name. Marcus was transported by private ambulance. Evelyn rode with him, watching the city blur past through tinted windows. They admitted Marcus immediately. IV antibiotics, oxygen support, a private room with equipment that made her teaching hospital look like a Civil War field surgery. He'll be here for at least a week, Dr. Park said. Longer if complications develop. You're welcome to stay with him. Evelyn spent 3 days at Marcus's bedside, watching the color return to his face, listening to his breathing ease from desperate gasps to normal rhythm. She slept in the chair, ate whatever the nurses brought her, ignored the dozens of missed calls from the hospital where she was supposed to be completing her clinical rotations. On the 4th day, Marcus woke up fully lucid. Evie? His voice was hoarse but clear. Where are we? Somewhere safe. She squeezed his hand. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck. He looked around the pristine room. This doesn't look like the free clinic. It's not. How did you... Someone helped us. She cut him off gently. Don't worry about it. Just focus on getting better. But Marcus had always been too smart for his own good. What did you have to do? Nothing you need to worry about. His hand tightened on hers. Evie, rest. She stood, kissed his forehead. I'll be right back. She stepped into the hallway and found one of Jin's men waiting. The one with the scar, Minjae. Mr. Jin requests your presence, he said formally. Now, When you're ready, a car is waiting. The restaurant was the kind of place Evelyn had never entered in her life. Not because she couldn't find it. It sat in plain sight on a tree-lined street in the Upper East Side. But because places like this didn't advertise. No sign. No menu in the window. Just a doorman who looked like he could bench press a sedan, and an interior of dark wood and soft lighting that whispered old money. Min-jae led her to a private room in the back. Jin sat at a low table, arm in a sling, wearing a different expensive suit that somehow made him look more dangerous than Blood-Soaked had. He stood when she entered. "Dr. Williams, please sit." She sat because her legs felt suddenly unsteady. "Your brother is recovering well," Jin said. "Dr. Park is optimistic." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "I don't know how to repay. I didn't bring you here for thanks." He poured tea with his good hand. "I brought you here to make you an offer." Here it comes, Evelyn thought. The price, the real cost. "I run a financial consulting firm," Jin continued smoothly. "Import-export, various business ventures, all completely legal, I assure you. You were shot. Business dispute. In an abandoned clinic at 3 a.m. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I have eccentric colleagues." Evelyn leaned back. "Why do I get the feeling that everything you just said was technically true but completely misleading?" "Because you're perceptive. Another quality I appreciate." He set down his teacup. "Here's what's also true. I employ approximately 70 people in various capacities. Many of them work in stressful conditions. Injuries happen. And when they do, we have a problem. Hospitals report gunshot wounds. Among other things, stab wounds, suspicious burns, patterns of trauma that raise questions." He met her eyes. "I need a doctor I can trust. Someone outside my organization, someone who understands discretion." "You want me to patch up your gangsters?" Jin didn't flinch at the word. "I want you to provide medical care to people who need it. In exchange, I'll ensure your brother receives ongoing treatment for his chronic respiratory condition. He has asthma. The pneumonia was a complication. I'll also pay off your student loans." Evelyn's heart stopped. "What?" $240,000, correct? It will be handled. Additionally, a monthly stipend of $10,000 for being available when needed. The room spun. That was everything. That was her entire future unlocked. No debt, no crushing interest. No choosing between groceries and medications for Marcus. What's the catch? "When this phone rings," he slid a sleek black phone across the table. "You come, immediately. No questions about who was hurt or how. You treat the patient, you leave. Simple." "Nothing about this is simple." "No," Jin agreed. "It's not. But it's honest work. People will be hurt whether you help them or not. This way, at least they survive." Evelyn stared at the phone. "I'm 3 months from graduating. I've spent 8 years working toward becoming a doctor, a real doctor, legal, ethical. And you'll still be that doctor. This doesn't change your path, it funds it. It makes me complicit in whatever you do. I'm not asking you to pull triggers, Dr. Williams. I'm asking you to save lives." He leaned forward. "The man you operated on that night? His name is Kim Tae-won. He's 28 years old. He has a wife and a daughter who just started kindergarten. Because you were there, because you didn't hesitate, that little girl still has a father." "And how many people has he hurt in your business disputes?" "Fewer than you'd think, more than you'd hope." Jin's voice was ice and honesty. "I won't lie to you about what I am, but I won't apologize for it either. This world breaks people, Dr. Williams. You know that. You've lived it. I've just chosen to break it back." Silence stretched between them. "I have conditions," Evelyn said finally. Jin's expression shifted. Was that respect? "Of course you do. I decide who's critical and who can wait. Medical decisions are mine alone. No one overrules me, not even you." She held up a finger as he started to nod. "And I won't treat anyone who's hurt innocent people. You bring me someone who shot up a school or murdered a civilian. We're done." "Agreed." "Just like that?" "I don't want a puppet, Dr. Williams. I want a doctor with principles, someone I can trust to tell me the truth, even when it's uncomfortable." He smiled. A real smile this time, warm and dangerous. "Besides, the people I employ, they follow a code. We don't touch civilians, we don't involve children, and anyone who breaks those rules doesn't need a doctor. They need a mortician." Evelyn looked at the phone again, at the promise of freedom it represented, at the compromise it demanded. She thought of Marcus, breathing easy for the first time in months. She thought of the homeless man who'd died in the ER last month because his injuries weren't critical enough for immediate treatment. She thought of the system that had failed her family over and over, that demanded she play by rules written to keep people like her desperate and grateful for scraps. She picked up the phone. "When it rings, I come." Jin's smile widened. "Welcome to my world, Dr. Williams. The phone didn't ring for 2 weeks. Evelyn finished her final semester, passed her boards, graduated top of her class in a ceremony Marcus attended, looking healthy and proud in a new suit someone had mysteriously delivered to their apartment. She didn't see Jin. Didn't hear from him. The phone sat in her bag like a loaded gun, silent and patient. Then, at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, it rang. The address was a warehouse in Red Hook. Evelyn drove her beat-up Honda, following GPS through increasingly desolate streets. The warehouse looked abandoned until she got close. Then she saw the men standing guard, the subtle signs of occupation. Min-jae met her at the entrance. "Knife wound, lower abdomen. He's stable, but losing blood." The patient was young, maybe 22, clutching his stomach while another man applied pressure. The wound was deep, jagged, not a clean slice, but a vicious tear. "What happened?" Evelyn asked, pulling on gloves. "Bar fight," the patient gasped. "Some asshole pulled a knife." "I don't need the story. I need you to lie down." She worked quickly. The wound had missed vital organs, but had nicked the external oblique. She irrigated, sutured, wrapped. 45 minutes start to finish. "Keep it clean," she told him. "Change the dressing twice a day. If you develop a fever, call me immediately." The young man nodded, eyes wide. "You're really good at this." "I'd better be. I have enough student debt to prove it." She paused, then added, "Stop getting in bar fights." "Yes, ma'am." The second call came a week later, broken ribs from a fall, or a beating, more likely. She taped them, prescribed pain management, instructed rest. The third call was a bullet graze. The fourth, a dislocated shoulder. Evelyn found herself settling into a rhythm. Medical resident by day, shadow surgeon by night. The cases weren't all dramatic. Sometimes just routine care, checkups, managing chronic conditions for people who couldn't risk a hospital visit. Jin's people began to respect her. They called her Doc with genuine affection. When she walked into a room, weapons were holstered. Her word became law in medical matters. She started to see patterns. The organization Jin ran wasn't random violence. It was structured, territorial. They controlled certain neighborhoods, certain businesses, protection, mostly. Some gambling. Financial crimes she didn't ask about. But no drugs, no human trafficking. Jin had lines he didn't cross. "You seem surprised," Min-jae said one night as they waited for her patient to wake from sedation. "I expected more." Evelyn gestured vaguely. "More what? Blood? Chaos? We're not animals, Doc. We have rules, structure. Jin Hyung doesn't tolerate sloppiness." "Jin Hyung?" It means respected older brother. We all call him that. How long have you worked for him? Min Jae's expression softened. He found me 7 years ago. I was 17, homeless, about to freeze to death in an alley. He gave me a job, a purpose, a family. He met her eyes. Jin Hyung doesn't save everyone. But when he does, we're loyal until death. The 5th call came 3 months into their arrangement. It's Jin, Min Jae said, voice tight. He's been stabbed. Territorial dispute with the Italians. We're bringing him to his penthouse. He asked for you specifically. Evelyn's stomach dropped. How bad? Bad enough that he asked for you. The penthouse was a revelation, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture that screamed wealth without ostentation, and an entire room converted into a medical suite, examination table, monitoring equipment, locked cabinets full of supplies. Jin had built her a clinic in his home. He lay on the table, shirt removed, a deep gash across his left side, not as immediately life-threatening as the gunshot, but serious. The blade had cut through the muscle, possibly nicked the intercostal space. We have to stop meeting like this, Evelyn said, hands already working. Jin's laugh was pained. I was thinking the same thing. What happened? Disagreement about boundaries. The Genovese family thinks they can expand into our territory. They're wrong. She cleaned the wound. Deep, but clean. You're going to need stitches, possibly antibiotics, and you need to stop collecting scars like they're going out of style. I'll take it under advisement. As she worked, they talked. Small things at first. Her residency program, she'd been accepted to a prestigious trauma surgery position. His business, expansion plans, complications with rivals. Why surgery? Jin asked as she placed the first stitch. I like fixing things. She paused. Or maybe I like the illusion that things can be fixed, one perfect suture at a time. Everything can be fixed. It's just a question of price. Is that your philosophy? Everything is transactional? Everything is negotiation, he corrected. Value for value, loyalty for loyalty, blood for blood. Depressing worldview, honest worldview. She worked in silence for a moment, then asked, how does a philosophy major end up running a criminal empire? Jin's eyes sharpened. You've been researching me. I treat your people. I have a right to know who's signing my paychecks. Fair. He winced as she tightened a stitch. My father was an immigrant, came to this country with nothing, worked himself to death, literally, building someone else's fortune, played by every rule, filed every form, paid every tax. And when he got cancer, the system he'd supported his entire life told him he hadn't contributed enough to deserve treatment. His voice was flat, emotionless. Evelyn recognized that tone, the one people used when the hurt was too deep for inflection. He died in our apartment, Jin continued, 48 years old, still apologizing for being a burden. He met her eyes. So yes, I learned philosophy. I learned that systems are designed to protect power, not people. And I decided to build my own system. Evelyn's hands paused. My mother died the same way, diabetes. Couldn't afford insulin. I was 15 isin. I watched her ration her doses until there weren't any doses left to ration. Understanding flickered between them, a shared wound. So you became a doctor, Jin said softly, so no one else would have to watch that. She resumed stitching. We're not so different, you and I. We both chose to fight the same broken system. We just picked different weapons. Your way saves lives. So does yours. You pay for your people's health care. You protect them. You give them purpose when society threw them away. She met his gaze. I'm not naive enough to think you're a hero, but I'm not naive enough to think the system opposing you is righteous either. Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then, You understand me. I understand necessity. As she placed the final stitch, her hand brushed his chest. The contact was electric, inappropriate. She pulled back, but not before she saw the shift in his expression, the way his eyes darkened, focused. You're the only person I trust completely, Jin said. Do you understand how rare that is? I'm your doctor, that's all. Is it? No, it wasn't. And they both knew it. But Evelyn stepped back, professional distance reasserting itself. Keep the wound dry. No strenuous activity for at least a week. I'll check on you in 3 days. Dr. Williams, 3 days. She left before he could finish, before she could admit that her hands had shaken for the first time in months. Not from fear, from something far more dangerous. Evelyn graduated. Dr. Evelyn Williams, MD. 8 years of sacrifice, countless sleepless nights, and debt that would have crushed her if Jin hadn't dissolved it with a phone call. She didn't invite him to the ceremony. Too public. Too many questions she couldn't answer. But the morning after, a package arrived at her apartment. Inside, a first edition of Gray's Anatomy, the 1858 original. Museum quality. Probably worth more than her car, and a card in elegant handwriting. For the woman who saved my life twice. The first time with her hands, the second with her integrity. Jay. Marcus found her staring at it. Who's Jay? A patient. Must be one hell of a patient to afford that book. She searched for words. Complicated. Marcus, 17 now and healthier than he'd been in years, gave her a look that said he knew she was hiding something. But he didn't push, just squeezed her shoulder and said, You deserve nice things, Evie. Even from complicated patients. Her residency started 2 weeks later. St. Catherine's Hospital, trauma surgery program, one of the most competitive positions in the country. The hours were brutal. 18-hour shifts, back-to-back surgeries, teaching rounds that tested her knowledge and her patience. She loved every second. But the phone in her bag still rang. Less frequently now, Jin seemed to understand her schedule. But when it rang, she went. 4th month of residency, the call came during a rare day off. We have a situation, Min-jae said. His voice carried an edge she'd never heard before. Multiple casualties. Jin-hyung is asking if you can come to the warehouse. Multiple? How many? 5 injured. 1 critical. Evelyn grabbed her bag. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The warehouse had been transformed into a makeshift field hospital. Jin's men had set up stations, following some protocol they'd clearly drilled. And in the center of the controlled chaos stood Jin, coordinating movements with calm precision despite the blood on his hands. He saw her. Relief flashed across his face. Dr. Williams, thank God. What happened? Ambush. The Petrov brothers. Russian outfit trying to muscle into our shipping operations. It got ugly. 5 patients. Gunshot wounds. Lacerations. 1 with a collapsed lung. Evelyn's training kicked into overdrive. She triaged rapidly, assigning priority. You, and you. She pointed to the least critical. Clean and dress those wounds. You. She indicated the man with labored breathing. Pneumothorax. I need to do a needle decompression now, or he dies. Jin's men moved without question. For the next 4 hours, Evelyn operated. She inserted a chest tube, sutured a severed artery, extracted 2 bullets, and stabilized a skull fracture until they could arrange transport to a neurosurgeon Jin had on retainer. Jin worked beside her the entire time, following her instructions, handing her instruments, holding pressure when she needed an extra set of hands. Clamp, she said. He handed it to her. Suction. Already in her hand before she finished the word. They moved like a surgical team that had worked together for years, not months, anticipating each other's needs, communicating with glances and gestures. When the last patient was stable, When the adrenaline finally ebbed, Evelyn collapsed against a metal support beam. Jin sat beside her, equally exhausted. "You saved 5 lives tonight," he said quietly. "We saved 5 lives tonight. You knew what to do. Where did you learn emergency medicine?" "Military service, South Korea. All men serve. I was assigned to a medical unit." He flexed his hands, stained with dried blood. "It's different when they're your people, though. When you know their names, their families. It's always different when you know them." She looked at him. Really looked. Past the expensive clothes and the dangerous reputation, saw the man underneath, intelligent, loyal, burdened by responsibilities he wore like armor. "Why do you do this?" "Do what?" "Take care of them. You could run your organization remotely, stay safe. But you're always here, always in the line of fire." Jin was quiet for a long moment. "My father died while his boss played golf. Never learned his name, never attended the funeral, never acknowledged that a human being had given his life to build that man's fortune." His jaw tightened. "I swore I would never be that boss. My people know I bleed when they bleed, fight when they fight. That's not nobility, Dr. Williams. That's basic humanity." Something shifted in Evelyn's chest, a wall crumbling that she'd carefully built to keep professional distance. "You should go home," Jin said, standing. "Get some rest. You must have rounds tomorrow." "Day after, I have tomorrow off." "Then sleep for 20 hours. Doctor's orders." She smiled despite her exhaustion. "I'm the doctor." "Then take your own advice." But as she stood, the room tilted. Exhaustion, adrenaline crash, and the fact that she'd worked an 18-hour shift before this hit her simultaneously. Jin caught her before she fell. "Easy." His arms were solid, steady. "When did you last eat?" Yesterday? Maybe?" "Dr. Williams." I know. Physician, heal thyself." She tried to step back, but her legs weren't cooperating. "Just give me a minute. You're not driving home like this." His tone left no room for argument. "You'll stay upstairs. Rest. Eat. Then decide if you can drive." "I'm fine. You just performed emergency surgery for 4 hours on an empty stomach after working a full shift. You're many things, but fine isn't one of them." He was right. She hated that he was right. "Just a few hours," she conceded. Jin's penthouse had guest rooms, plural. He directed her to one that was larger than her entire apartment. Ensuite bathroom, bed that looked like clouds had been compressed into mattress form. Showers through there. There are clothes in the closet. Sweats, probably too big but clean. Food will be ready in 30 minutes. You don't have to... Dr. Williams. He looked at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. Let me take care of you for once. Please. The please undid her. 30 minutes. The shower was heaven. Hot water, pressure that actually worked, expensive soap that smelled like cedar and rain. She stood under the spray until the blood washed away, until the tension eased from her shoulders. The clothes in the closet were indeed too large, men's sweatpants and a soft t-shirt that hung off her frame. But they were clean and comfortable, and when she emerged, she felt almost human again. The smell of food drew her to the main living area. Jin had changed too, different clothes, hair still damp. He stood at the kitchen island, plating food with surprising competence. Soup, rice, banchan. Traditional Korean side dishes. You cook? Evelyn asked. I survive. There's a difference. He gestured to the counter. Sit. Eat. She did. The first bite of soup was a revelation, rich, warming, exactly what her exhausted body needed. She'd been running on coffee and willpower for so long, she'd forgotten what real nourishment felt like. Jin sat across from her, watching her eat with something like satisfaction. What? She asked between spoonfuls. You never stop, do you? Working, studying, saving everyone around you. When do you take care of yourself? I'm fine. You keep saying that. I'm beginning to think you don't know what fine actually feels like. Evelyn set down her spoon. Says the man who's been shot and stabbed in the 4 months I've known him. Occupational hazard. So is burnout. She met his gaze. We're both terrible at self-preservation. Perhaps, his lips curved, or perhaps we've just found things worth burning for. The air between them charged with something unnamed. Evelyn felt it, had been feeling it for weeks now. The way conversations lingered too long, the way their hands brushed more than accidentally, the way Jin looked at her sometimes, like she was a problem he couldn't solve, and a solution he didn't deserve. I should go, she said, but didn't move. You should rest, he countered. It's 4 a.m., you're exhausted. The guest room is yours. No strings. No expectations. Jin, stay. One word, not a command. A request. Please. She should have left, should have maintained the professional distance that was already gossamer thin, should have remembered all the reasons this was complicated and dangerous and impossible. Instead, she said, Okay. Evelyn woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a disoriented moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it came back, the casualties, the surgery, Jin's penthouse. She'd meant to rest for a few hours. The clock on the nightstand read 2:47 p.m. She'd slept for 10 hours. Panic fluttered. Her phone, where was her phone? She found it on the nightstand, plugged in and charging. 3 missed calls from Marcus, a dozen texts from colleagues. And one new message from an unknown number that she somehow knew was Jin. Your brother knows you're safe. Your residency director was informed you were dealing with a family emergency. Rest as long as you need. Coffee's in the kitchen. Jay. He'd handled everything while she slept. Evelyn found him in his office, a room she hadn't seen before. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, half in Korean, half in English. Philosophy, history, military strategy. A desk covered in papers and ledgers. And Jin, in reading glasses, reviewing something that made his jaw tight. You wear glasses, she said from the doorway. He looked up. The tension in his face eased. Only when I'm trying to look intellectual. Is it working? You look like a very dangerous librarian. I'll take that as a compliment. He removed the glasses, set them aside. You slept. You drugged me. I provided a comfortable bed and white noise. The drugging was your body's executive decision. He stood, moved to the kitchen. Coffee? I didn't know how you take it. Black. 2 sugars. He poured, handed her the mug. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away immediately. Thank you, Evelyn said, for calling my brother, for covering with my program. I told them your brother had a medical emergency, not technically a lie. He did have one 3 months ago. They were very understanding. You're good at lying. I'm good at presenting truth from advantageous angles. There's a difference. He leaned against the counter, studying her. How do you feel? Like I slept in a cloud. Your guest bed is obscene. Wait until you see the master bedroom. The words hung in the air between them, loaded with unintended meaning. Jin's expression shifted. That came out wrong. Did it? Their eyes locked. Evelyn watched something flicker across his face. Want, hesitation, decision. Dr. Williams, Evelyn. Evelyn. Her name in his mouth sounded like a promise and a curse. We should discuss boundaries. Should we? I am not a good man. The things I do, the choices I make, they're necessary, but they're not noble. You deserve better than what I can offer. That's very presumptuous, Evelyn said, setting down her coffee. Assuming you know what I deserve. I know you've worked your entire life to build something legitimate. to help people legally, to be everything the system told you you couldn't be. He moved closer. I won't be the reason you compromise that. You're not compromising anything. I made my choices, Jin, with clear eyes, and I'd make them again. Even knowing what I am, especially knowing what you are. She closed the distance between them. You think I don't see you? You take care of your people. You have lines you won't cross. You pay your debts. You honor your word. The system calls you a criminal, but that system also let my mother die and would have let Marcus die. So forgive me if I don't trust its moral authority. Jin's control cracked. She saw it in his eyes, the walls he'd carefully maintained crumbling. This is a bad idea, he said, even as his hand came up to cup her face. The worst, she agreed, leaning into his touch. You're my doctor. I'm off duty. Evelyn, she kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative. It was months of tension igniting, boundaries dissolving. Two people who'd been circling each other finally colliding. Jin responded immediately, pulling her closer, deepening the kiss with an urgency that matched her own. His hand tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt. They broke apart only to breathe, foreheads pressed together. We can't, Jin said, but didn't let her go. We shouldn't, Evelyn corrected. What's the difference? Can't implies impossibility, shouldn't implies choice. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I'm choosing this. Are you? Jin's answer was another kiss, deeper, claiming, a surrender disguised as conquest. They made it to his bedroom, the master suite she'd joked about. Evelyn had a vague impression of luxury and windows before Jin was backing her toward the bed, kissing her jaw, her neck, finding the pulse point that made her gasp. Tell me to stop, he murmured against her skin. No! Evelyn, I want this. I want you. She pulled back, making him look at her. Do you want this? Since the moment you ordered my men around like you owned the place. His smile was knife-sharp and genuine. Since you threatened to let me die if I interrupted your work. Since I realized you were the only person in my life who saw me completely and didn't flinch. I'm not afraid of you. I know, it's terrifying. They undressed each other slowly, despite the urgency. Evelyn mapped the scars on his body. Bullet wounds she'd closed, stab wounds she'd sutured. Older marks from battles before her, each one a story of survival. Jin traced the exhaustion in her face, the tension in her shoulders, the marks her profession had left, calluses from hours of surgery, shadows under her eyes from sleepless nights. You're beautiful, he said quietly. You're biased. I'm honest. When they finally came together, it was with an intensity that stole breath. A release of months of denial, a claiming that went both ways. Jin was careful, attentive, reading her body with the same precision he applied to everything else. And Evelyn matched him, giving as good as she got, refusing to be passive. Afterwards, they lay tangled in expensive sheets, heartbeats slowly returning to normal. This complicates things, Evelyn said to the ceiling. Catastrophically. Jin's arm tightened around her. We should probably regret this. Probably. Do you? She turned to face him. Not even a little. His smile was soft, unguarded in a way she'd never seen. Good. As evening shadows stretched across the room, reality crept back in. I have to go, Evelyn said reluctantly. I have rounds tomorrow morning, and I need to check on Marcus. I'll have a car take you home. Jin, I'm not letting you drive exhausted, especially not after... He gestured vaguely at the bed. After we blurred every professional boundary in existence? That's one way to phrase it. Evelyn sat up, began collecting her clothes. What happens now? What do you want to happen? I don't know. This wasn't exactly in my 5-year plan. Jin rose, pulled on pants, stood facing the window. I can't offer you normal. I can't promise safety. My enemies will see you as leverage if they know what you mean to me. And what do I mean to you? He turned, expression serious. Everything I shouldn't want, and everything I need. Evelyn's heart clenched. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now. He closed the distance between them. I won't put you at risk, Evelyn. If continuing this means painting a target on your back, I'm already at risk. I treat your people, I know your operation. I've been a target since the night I pulled that bullet from your shoulder. She cupped his face. So the question isn't whether I'm safe. The question is whether what we have is worth the danger. And is it? She kissed him, soft, certain. Ask me again when this isn't so new and terrifying. Fair enough. 3 weeks later, Evelyn was accepted to St. Catherine's Advanced Trauma Fellowship, the most prestigious program in the country. 2 years of intensive training under world-renowned surgeons. It was everything she'd worked toward. It was also 90-hour work weeks and constant supervision. She couldn't be on call for Jin anymore. The phone had rung 6 times in those 3 weeks. Quick cases, nothing critical. But each time she'd felt the pull between 2 worlds, the legitimate career she'd built and the shadow life she'd accepted. And there was Jin himself. They'd been careful. No public appearances, no paper trail. But in private, behind locked doors, they'd fallen into something that felt dangerously like a relationship. Dinners in his penthouse, conversations that lasted until dawn, sex that was alternately tender and consuming. Marcus had noticed her frequent absences. "You're seeing someone," he'd said over breakfast. "What makes you say that? You smile at your phone, you dress nicer, and you're gone weird hours." He'd given her a look. "Please tell me it's not your attending. Those relationships always end badly." "It's not my attending." "Then who?" "Someone complicated." Marcus, 18 now and sharp as a blade, had simply said, "Be careful, Evie." But careful was becoming impossible. Evelyn made the decision on a Tuesday. She'd schedule a meeting with Jin, explain the fellowship, end their arrangement professionally. They could still see each other, but the medical work, that had to stop. She called the number he'd given her, not the emergency phone, his personal line. "Evelyn," he sounded pleased. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "We need to talk. In person." His tone shifted. "That's never a good opening. Should I be concerned?" "No, maybe. I don't know. Can I come by tonight?" "Of course. 7? I'll be there." But at 6:45 p.m., as Evelyn was leaving the hospital, 3 men stepped out of a van. She saw them too late. One grabbed her arm, another pressed something against her neck. Taser. Her brain registered distantly. The world went white with pain, then black. She woke in the van, zip-tied, head throbbing. 2 men in the front. Russian accents. Discussing something in rapid-fire conversation she couldn't follow. Panic clawed at her throat, but medical training kicked in. Assess the situation. Count assets. Plan. She was alive. That was asset 1. They'd used a taser, not a gun. They wanted her alive, asset 2, which meant she was valuable, which meant Jin would come for her if he knew she was missing. The van stopped after what felt like hours, but was probably 30 minutes. They hauled her out into a warehouse, different from Jin's, older, crumbling. Russian voices echoed off concrete walls. A man approached, 50s, expensive suit, cold eyes. He spoke in accented English. "Dr. Williams, forgive the rough treatment. I am Dmitri Petrov. You may have heard of me." The Petrov brothers, the ones who'd ambushed Jin's men. "What do you want?" Her voice was steadier than she felt. Direct. I like that. Dmitri circled her like a shark. "You are important to Jin Dai-wan. He protects you, pays for your brother's care, spends time with you privately." He smiled without warmth. This makes you valuable. I'm his doctor, that's all. Please, do not insult my intelligence. Jin does not invite his doctor to his private penthouse for extended evening visits. Jin does not call in favors to ensure his doctor's residency program accommodates her schedule. Jin does not. He leaned close. Look at his doctor, the way he looks at you. Evelyn's blood went cold. They'd been watching. For how long? What do you want? She repeated. Jin has been expanding into territories my organization claims. He has been problematic. Negotiations have failed. So now, I negotiate with leverage. Dmitri gestured to her bonds. You will call him. Tell him you are safe, but you are my guest. And if he wishes to see you unharmed, he will cede 3 territories and pay $2 million. And if he doesn't? Dmitri's smile widened. Then we discover how much you mean to him in pieces. He cut her zip ties, handed her a phone. Call, speaker mode. Make it convincing. Evelyn's hands shook as she dialed Jin's personal line. He answered on the first ring. Evelyn, where are you? I've been trying to reach Jin. She kept her voice level. I'm okay, but there's a situation. Silence. When Jin spoke again, his voice was lethal calm. Put him on. Dmitri took the phone. Mr. Jin, a pleasure to finally speak directly. If you've hurt her, she is unharmed, for now, but her continued well-being depends on your cooperation. Dmitri outlined his demands. You have 24 hours to deliver the territories and the money. If you involve police, if you attempt a rescue, if you do anything besides comply, she dies. Are we clear? Crystal. Jin's voice could have frozen hell. And Petrov, when I get her back, and I will get her back, you're a dead man. Threats are unproductive. 24 hours. He hung up. Evelyn was dragged to a back room, concrete floor, single chair, guards at the door. They tied her again, left her in darkness. She counted her heartbeats, slowed her breathing, ran through anatomy in her head to stay calm. Jin would come. She knew it with absolute certainty. The question was whether he'd come alone or smart. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time dissolved. Then, gunfire. Evelyn's head snapped up. The sound was distant but unmistakable. Her guards tensed, weapons drawn. More gunfire. Closer now, shouts in Russian and Korean. The door exploded inward. Jin stood in the doorway, gun in hand, blood on his clothes. Not his blood, Evelyn noted clinically. Behind him, Minjae and a team of his men, moving with military precision. Jin's eyes found hers. Are you hurt? No. How did you? Later. He crossed to her in 3 strides, cutting her bonds with a knife that appeared from nowhere. Can you walk? Yes. Then we're leaving. Now. He pulled her to her feet, positioned himself between her and the door. They moved through the warehouse like ghosts, Jin's men clearing the path. Bodies on the ground, unconscious or dead, Evelyn couldn't tell in the chaos. They burst into the night. 4 black SUVs waiting. Jin pushed her into one, climbed in after, barked orders in Korean. The SUV peeled out, tires screaming. Are you hurt? Jin asked again, hands already checking her arms, her face, her neck where the taser had hit. I'm fine. Jin, how did you find me? I put a tracker in the phone I gave you, and in your car, and in the necklace I sent you last week. His expression was grim. I told you my enemies would see you as leverage. I wasn't going to let that happen without preparation. Evelyn should have been angry about the invasion of privacy, should have objected to being tracked without her knowledge. Instead, she kissed him. Jin responded immediately, pulling her against him, the kiss desperate and relieved and claiming. When they broke apart, his forehead pressed against hers. I thought I'd lost you. You didn't. If they'd hurt you, They didn't. You got there in time. His hands were shaking. Jin, who never showed weakness, was shaking. What did you do? Evelyn asked quietly. What I had to. Jin, Dmitri Petrov is dead. His brother Alexei is dead. Their entire upper command is dead. His voice was flat. I gave them a chance to negotiate. They took you instead. There is no negotiation now. There is only elimination. Evelyn processed that. You started a war. I ended one, decisively. The other Russian outfits will see what happens when someone touches what's mine. He pulled back, eyes blazing. You are mine, Evelyn. Whether that's right or wrong, whether it's safe or dangerous, you're mine. And I protect what's mine with everything I have. I'm not property. I know. That's not what I meant. He cupped her face. You're my heart, my conscience, Babao. The only thing in this world I would burn it all down to protect. And tonight, I almost did. Evelyn's breath caught. Jin, I love you. The words were raw, certain. I didn't mean to. I tried not to. But I do. Completely. Irrevocably. And I will not apologize for what I did to get you back. She kissed him again. Softer this time. I love you too. Even though this is insane, even though we're from different worlds, even though this is the most complicated thing I've ever... Evelyn. Yeah? Stop talking. She laughed despite everything. Make me. He did. Thank you for watching till the end. If this story touched you, inspired you, or took you on a journey, don't leave without hitting the like button. Subscribe if you haven't, and switch your notifications on. You don't want to miss what I got coming up. Make sure to drop in the comment section where in the world you're watching from. We're building a global community of story lovers here, and your voice is part of it. See you in the next one. Have a great day.